Mr. Speaker, my colleagues and I have tremendous respect for and appreciate the RCMP and admire its work. We don't question the wisdom of the Supreme Court when it ruled that the current labour regime for the RCMP needs reform in order to comply with RCMP members' Section 2 charter rights, which is why we supported this bill at second reading when it was first introduced. What we disagree with is the disregard for democratic governance that Bill C-7 contained when passed at third reading. We also disagree with the government's choice to reject important amendments to Bill C-7 wisely passed by the Senate. This bill enables RCMP members to unionize for the purposes of collective bargaining if they see fit to do so. This bill is not about whether the RCMP should or should not unionize, and I take no position on that question. Most of this bill is agreeable, but it does contain one fatal flaw. As the official opposition's deputy critic for Treasury Board, my opposition to this bill, as passed at third reading, and my support for the amended version, which the Senate has returned to the House of Commons, rises from concern for the working environment which it will create for members of the RCMP if passed without amendment. Bill C-7 does not require a secret ballot to certify or decertify a union to represent RCMP members in labour negotiations. My fellow Conservatives and I cannot support this bill unless the issue is corrected. I supported this bill at second reading, as did my Conservative colleagues, for one purpose. We wanted to send it to committee then, hoping that the majority of members would accept sensible amendments to protect RCMP members' right to privacy as well as their freedom of association. Conservative members argued that any decision to certify or decertify a union to represent RCMP members must include a secret ballot to protect members from undue pressure or reprisals. I'll return to that point in a moment. But the Liberals rejected this amendment at committee and returned the bill for third reading, and now the Senate has sent it back to the House with amendments. Two of these amendments require a secret ballot vote for certification. So the motion before us today says, quote, that government respectfully disagrees with Amendments 2 and 4A because the government has introduced legislation to repeal secret ballot provisions for other public servants, end quote. Motion also disagrees with other amendments which the Senate made in recognition of the RCMP's unique structure and circumstances which require modifications to existing labour law. I'm going to focus my remarks on the amendments around secret ballots and let other members speak to the merits of the other amendments. So, Mr. Speaker, Canadians should never feel unduly pressured when exercising their democratic rights as citizens in a free country. None of us should worry that third parties will keep track of our voting choice or to seek to reward or punish as a result. As members of Parliament, we should know this well. We were all elected by secret ballot. Voters took their ballots behind a privacy screen, filled them in, alone with their conscience, folded them so no one could see their selection, and put the ballot in the box. It's not too difficult to imagine how different Canada would be if political organizers, neighbours, ethnic or religious community leaders, employers, union leaders, friends, or even family members hovered over a voter's shoulder when voting in an election. As my friend from Carleton mentioned on March 22, 2016, the rate of success for unionization drives appears demonstrably higher with a card check system alone than with a secret ballot, as workers who would prefer not to unionize appear to give in to pressure to sign petitions that would not be present under a secret ballot. Mr. Speaker, when members of Parliament selected you and your predecessors as Speaker of this House, members of Parliament did so by secret ballot, and this, Mr. Speaker, is in part to shield you from any appearance of partiality and to remove any doubt that Canadians might have when you rule on any issue regarding a particular member. Protecting individuals from undue pressure, recrimination and reprisal should apply to Canada's national police force even more so than to parliamentarians, and certainly more so than in other workplaces. Decisions to certify or decertify unions or associations significantly affect workplaces. How one votes or how one chooses can determine the course of many relationships if the choice is known. And in a hierarchical organization like the RCMP, which is modeled as a paramilitary force with a clear chain of command, trust and confidence between ranks is even more important than in other workplaces. Superiors must know that their subordinates will dutifully follow orders. Subordinates must know that superiors will exercise good judgment and not put them in harm's way without cause. Trust and undivided loyalty to the force is essential to police morale and to the safety of its workers. So a card check system of union certification in which everyone knows who signed the petition creates rifts within the hierarchy. And such division has serious repercussions, especially for police morale. The secret ballot would avoid these risks by protecting all members' privacy. Unless members discuss their positions with others and unless they disclose how they voted, no one can be certain what a given member chose. Secret ballots also better fulfill the spirit of the Supreme Court's case which gave rise to Bill C-7. Among other points, the Court emphasized the need for meaningful representation, choice, and independence from management. A secret ballot enables meaningful representation by allowing workers to select the union which they believe will best protect their interests. It shields them from undue pressure to vote for merely whoever pushes the hardest. As my colleague from Carleton discussed when Bill C-7 came up at second reading, the bill gets it right when requiring any union representing the RCMP to do so as its primary mandate. Such a union may not be affiliated with another bargaining agent or association with a different primary purpose, and it cannot be certified to represent any other group of employees. So since the association would be composed of RCMP members representing their colleagues, secrecy at the ballot box is essential to avoid resentment in the ranks if the association fails and needs to be decertified and reconstituted. Secret ballots facilitate individual choice as the basis for consent for corporate decisions. They also facilitate representation independent from management by ensuring that members can freely reject a proposed representative if they consider the representative to be too close to management. Mr. Speaker, I understand the reasons behind the government's rejection of Amendments 2 and 4A. I simply disagree. The rule of law demands that law be consistent and treat similar things in similar fashion. Since the Liberals are stripping other workers of secret ballot protection via Bill C-4, they say it's therefore consistent for Bill C-7 to reject the secret ballot requirement for the RCMP. So the Liberals' decision today may be consistent, but it's wrong. They're wrong on Bill C-4, and the reasons why they are wrong on Bill C-4 are amplified in Bill C-7 because of the very nature of the RCMP. So instead of seeking to be consistent by refusing to extend secret ballot protection to the RCMP while repealing secret ballot provisions for everyone else, the government should do exactly the opposite. It should restore secret ballot protection for all federal workers and agree to Amendments 2 and 4A to extend it to the RCMP. If the Liberals value consistency, they shouldn't argue that secret ballots for workers are somehow undemocratic. Each of them was democratically elected by secret ballot. Instead, they should acknowledge that secret ballots to certify unions are both democratic and consistent with secret ballots to select union leaders. They should join British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Ontario, and Nova Scotia, who all require secret ballots for certification decisions. They should lead the way for a consistent standard for workers across provincial and federal jurisdictions. So, Mr. Speaker, I conclude by encouraging all of my colleagues in this House to protect the democratic rights of RCMP members by voting against today's motion and insisting that the government adopt the amendments from the Senate.
Questions and comments? Questions and comments. The Honourable Member, l'Honourable